somebody posted something, right, and I want to talk about it because I've been saying it for a while, but I haven't really given the public a real understanding of what I mean or what I'm saying. Right? What's up, man? Welcome back onto the struggle zone, man. Right now I'm out here in goddamn me, Jonestown, Philadelphia. Man, my truck in the shop. So I'm out here at this hotel room, man. Out the while, about to order me something to eat. But before I do that, somebody posted something. I think it was Aboriginal Beat or Aboriginal Love. They posted something talking about the Moors, the Afrocentrics, and the I think the Israelites or something like that. And I had mentioned this a while ago, right? And I wanted to kind of discuss this. I had probably about a few months ago. I had I was going back and forth with your guy Sharif Bey about this topic, and he was saying that things were speculation. So to give y'all some backdrop of what I was talking about, I was saying that the Moors, the Hebrew Israelites, and Pan Africans or Afrocentric, whichever one you choose, was all created by the same fucking people. So, and I mean that because you probably say, well, what makes me say that all these different groups are created by the same people? It's simple, because when we look at the conditions of our people right now today, and when I explain it to you, you're gonna say, if you're honest, you're gonna say that what I'm saying makes perfect sense. All right, now look. So in order for me to explain it, I got to go back and do and go over a little history, a brief history, to give you an understanding of what I'm saying, right? All right. In the late 1800s, right? The Europeans, they came up with this concept where they wanted to convince the people here that they wasn't Indian. Wait, before I do that, let me say this. It is my belief, from the understanding and the research that I've done, that the Moors, as in the Moor Science Temple, the Hebrew Israelites, and the Pan Africans was all created by the same fucking people. Every last one of them. And what I mean by that is this. And the reason why I say that is this. It's because in the mid to late 1800s, the Europeans had a dilemma. They had a concept where they wanted to kill the Indians but save the man, meaning they wanted to keep the physical persons who wanted to convince the people that they wasn't Indian, right? Now, so they went on a mission to detribalize certain groups, detribalize the people. So when they detribalized our ancestors, they had a serious fucking dilemma. What they did was they had now made us one people. Because we got to understand, before the Europeans came here, we was in different tribes. And depending on where you was at, many of the different tribes didn't always get along. There was wars that was taking place right here just amongst the indigenous people, right? So when the Europeans came here, what they would do during this time period, they would use one tribe against the other one, right? They would use one tribe against the other tribe. But when they detribalized the people, they was no longer able to do that. So now you have many tribes that at one time was warring with each other, was now working together because the tribes had been dismantled by this time. So the Europeans, they say, well, damn, what can we do to counter that? So they had to come up with different tribes. They had to create their own tribes. And I'm explaining to you why I say that. They had to create their own tribes. First, they already had the church, right? Then eventually they set up the Moorish Science Temple. Now they use Noble Drew Ali, but he's just the face of the shit. Just because you put a black face on something or a Negroid face on something, don't mean that that's who created it. They always put a Negro out front. You know what I'm saying? Because they know we don't trust them, but we trust our own. You dig what I'm saying? It's common sense. So what they did was, they say, well, damn, we need to find a way where we can continue to use these people against each other. So they had to create different tribes. They created the Moorish Science Temple, right? And then off an offshoot of the Moorish Science Temple, they set up the Nation of Islam. I'm just breaking this down. And then you have the Pan Africans or Afrocentric people. And then after Afrocentric people in the 1960s, they set up the Hebrew Israelites. Why is this important? Because if we go back before the 1800s, when the first settlers came here, you had, when they saw the people when they came here, different people said different things. We have records of the people saying that the people looked like Moors when they came here, or Saracens. We have people saying that the people here look like the lost tribes of Israel. We have other people come here saying that you can't tell the difference between an Aboriginal of America and an African. So now, if we fast forward to today, the same groups that the people were saying that they looked, the indigenous people look like, it's kind of ironic that we have same groups that's following the same doctrine as back then. You dig what I'm saying? You have groups that's structured around those same different historical accounts. That's not a coincidence. You had the Moors, you had the Israelites, and you had the goddamn the Pan Africans, or the Afrocentric people. These are the same groups that the Europeans say that people here look like when they got here. It just so happened these people all are what you would consider a Negroid people. And why do you think that you have all these different groups, right now today, and none of them is trying to gain power for our people? None of them is actually providing anything that's going to change the conditions of our people. And the reason they're not doing it is because that's not why they was created. They was created to be controlled opposition. That's why they was created. Like I said, I talked to you guy Sharif Bey about this shit. I mentioned it to him. I told him the same shit. This is what happened. This is why none of these groups is doing anything. None of these groups we can be getting slaughtered in these streets. None of these groups is doing anything to stop that shit. None of them. Why? Because that's how it was created. So now, let me break this down to you. All right. I just told you how the Europeans, when they come here, different Europeans said different things in different time periods. So the Europeans when we get to the late 1800s, who wanted to create these new tribes of people, which is the Moors, Israelites, and the Pan Africans, what did they do? They went back and they looked at the history of the Americas, and they started seeing different people identifying these people as different things. And they saw that, and they came up with an idea and a plan to create tribes surrounding those different groups. This is why we have those groups today. What sense does it make for the Europeans to create these different groups, you may ask? It makes perfect sense. For one, the people here in America were detribalized. Our ancestors were detribalized. So it makes perfect sense to create different tribes and get us to think that these certain tribes is fighting for the best interests of our people, although they're not. They're not doing shit for our people. Many of these groups been around for over 100 years. And they're not doing anything. You dig what I'm saying? They're not doing shit. So this is what happened. Well, we had this guy by the name of it was a captain by the name of Henry Pratt. He came up with the concept of kill the Indian and save the man. And now I'm also before I end this live, I'm also going to go into this guy, and I want to discuss the Navajo and who these people are. I'm gonna show y'all some shit because a lot of things what we have to start doing is getting into the indigenous languages that were spoken here. And you're gonna if you get to these languages, you'll be able to trace certain tribes and where they come from. And not all of them was us. And man, it's so much history, man. That it would take me forever to break it down. But I'm gonna give y'all a brief understanding in the near future and show y'all this shit so we can go back and start doing this fucking research. Cause we got to acknowledge that we've been lied to, and we continue to be lied to. And it's a reason for it. So before I go there, I'm gonna stay here right quick and I'm gonna show you some shit. So Henry Pratt, he came up with the concept of kill the Indian and save the man. And the reason why this guy is important to this specific topic, because now you will understand that how many of these groups were created. The Moors, the Israelites, and the Pan Africans. All these different groups have one thing in common. They have one thing in common, and what they have in common is that they all are telling us that we come from someplace else. All of them, the Moors say we come from Morocco or North Africa. The Israelites say we come from Israel. The Pan Africans or Afrocentrics say we come from West Africa. Why is it a coincidence that all these different guys who claim to be standing on separate doctrines all preaching the same thing? Why is that? Why are they all telling us? Now we know our history of our ancestors telling us that we was indigenous people, and it just so happened that the evidence that we're finding out now supports what we was told when we was children. So now all these doctrines come from someplace else. Like I said at first, different Europeans that was coming here in the 1400s, 1500s, 1600s was all saying something different. They were saying the same thing. They was referring to the people as Negroid people, but they was using different classification depending on who it was and what part of the eastern countries that they came from. For instance, you have like I say, some of them say, well, the people resemble Moors, right? Although we not no fucking Moors. Some of them say the people resemble Israelites. Some of them say these people look like Africans. These are different things that was being said in different time periods. And all the Europeans did in the late 1800s, early 1900s, all they did, they took that history of the earlier Europeans that was coming here and created tribes out of them. And this is how you get the Moorish Science Temple. This is how you get the Hebrew Israelites and all this shit, right? And we got to understand that many of the people that was come here and pushing this information on us come from someplace else. Now I think Noble Drew Ali was indigenous, but I think he was being used against the best interests of our people. That's what I believe. Now the guy who started and we know from the Pan Africanist ideology, nearly every last one of them Negroes who pushing that shit have immigrant backgrounds. It's a reason for that. It's a reason for it. The guy who started the Hebrew Israelites, Whitworth Matthews, and the Commandment Keepers, them guys, I think they got dudes from the Caribbean. We already know that Dr. Ben, he was from Africa. Shanket Diop, Theophile Banger, George Simmons, all these different people who cannot trace their lineage to North America is coming here telling us that we're not from here. shit, even if we fast forward that shit to the day, when you look in the conscious community, Sarnetta, Dominican, Jabari, Barbados, whole ass nigga name, Garfield, Jamaica, Red Pill, Blue Pill, they Caribbean, Minister Inky, Haitian. I even heard somebody say that General Yohana was Haitian, had a Haitian background. So what I'm saying, you got all these. This shit is not a coincidence. It's by design. So when we look at these different groups, we got to understand why they was put here and what are they doing today now to benefit our people. Absolutely nothing. It's nothing. So when we look at the history of America and we see that you have these people saying that we look like these different groups, the Moors, Israelites, Africans, and then you fast forward to the 1800s, and now they trying to convince the people here that they're not Indians, right? And then you come back into the 1900s. Now you find we have 1900 to the 2000s. We have different tribes that structured around these same ideologies that the Europeans said when they first came here. Man, it's too much of a coincidence. You dig what I'm saying? But this is how these people came about. And now what I want to do is I want to tap into this guy Henry Pratt, and I'm gonna deal with the Navajo. Henry Pratt. I got you, Lord Samir. I got you. I'm gonna save it. I'll say the live stream and I'm gonna post it, and then you know what I'm saying, you can go ahead and share it if you want to. I'm cool with that. So now now as I was saying, it said my audio sound out. You hear me now? No, what's happening, man? Dark Side 87 man, what's happening? That's that James Gang E&T, man. Y'all go check them cats out, man. Hey, so what I'm saying is this, right? When we look at the guy Henry Pratt and the Navajo and these people, I've heard some Aboriginal brothers and sisters say, well, I think they missing certain information. They have an understanding, but a lot of information they missing. Because when we go into the records, you had this guy Henry Pratt. This is in around the late 1800s. He came up with the concept, kill the Indian, save the man. Meaning what he wanted to do, family, he wanted to kill the Indian inside of you, but keep the man, the physical you, because they could still use you. Why is that important? It's important, man, because now we fast forward, we have the Navajo Nation. Now, what many people don't know is that in the late 1800s, the Europeans, they were shipping a lot of the people out of Alaska into on these reservations or these Indian boarding schools and things like that. And some of them was even shipped into Hampton University. For some of you who may know or may not know, but Hampton University was Booker T. Washington was teaching at Hampton University, or he went to Hampton University, right? So this guy Henry Pratt, what he was doing was he was shipping these Navajo in here, and the Navajo is not our people. These are Mongoloid people. And I see certain brothers and sisters who claim the indigenous ideology pictures of the Navajo, but these are Mongoloid people. They're not us, and I'm gonna prove it. The Navajo they speak a Athabascan language. When you do the research, you find that the Athabascan language, man, is heavy in Alaska. It's running heavy in Alaska. So why is this important? Because for those you know that in 1865, that's when they had the Emancipation Proclamation where they were supposed to free the slaves, right? In 1867, you have the in 1867, the U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia. I have the original document. They purchased it for around about $600 and some $1,000. I know some of you, if you have done a basic history, you know that Alaska used to be a part of Russia, right? Why is this so important? Because the Russians was in Alaska since the 1500s. In 1867, like I just told you, they purchased it from there. Now, at the end of the 1800s, this is how you get the concept of Alaskan natives. After 1867, after 1867, you get this whole Alaskan natives. I think the Alaskan territory, although it was purchased from Russia in 1867, I think that they didn't actually become U.S. territory until later on, and that's how you get the term Alaskan natives. But these are the same people, and the Mongoloid people, they came here in different ways. But I don't want to go to the first way they came here. I want to focus right now on the 1800s, because that's when a lot of bullshit was going on, and this history is not even taught in schools. You know what I'm saying? So the Athabascan language is spoken heavily in Alaska, northern Canada, and they found tribes in Siberia that speaks it. So when people say these people came here across the Bering Strait, that's bullshit, because they trying to put you back into the Ice Age. That's bullshit. There's no evidence of that shit. These people came here and they were shipped here. And bringing people here from the outside and bringing them amongst our people has been something that's been done shit for the longest. Before I go on, for instance, right, in the late 1800s, see, just put emphasis on the late 1800s. A lot of shit was going on. Like, I'm from Arkansas, born and raised, right? In the late 1800s, a lot of people don't know that after slavery, after 1865, they had a lot of people, white landowners, who was envious and felt like our people should still be slaves or whatnot, right? So what they was doing was, they was, to undermine our people, they would go all the way to China, bring immigrants over here, and put them in our community. That's how they got there. It was a tactic of war to undermine our people, to keep us in a subservient position. This is why any whole ass nigga out here that's supporting this immigration shit, you're undermining your own fucking people for another group of people. You a bitch. And that's some weak ass shit. That's why we should never support that shit. We have too much shit going on in our own communities, man, that we need to take care of. We cannot be out here fighting and loving and singing Kumbaya with every motherfucker who come here. You dig what I'm saying? So now, let me continue on what the fuck I was saying. When we look at the records what we find out is that these different groups have always been created as controlled opposition. Why do you think all these different groups, like I'm talking about the Moors, the Israelites, the Pan Africans or Afrocentric Negroes, why do you think none of these dudes is doing that specifically for our group? None of them. Why? Because the shit is by design. They're not supposed to. They doing exactly what the